9, a historic vote on Capitol Hill.
How the President of the United States to incite this attack without consequences is a direct threat to the future of this democracy.
A plan to impeach the president for a second time.
As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for.
The nation's still recovering after a deadly attack at the Capitol.
We're worried around every corner that we might find the mob.
Arizona's family breaks down what happens next for Americans.
And good morning, Arizona. Some Americans think it's a good idea, and a lot of Americans not happy that House Democrats are voting to impeach President Trump.
Now, this comes just days before his term in office comes to an end, and President-elect Joe Biden will be confirmed as president and take his place. It would be the second time that President Donald Trump was impeached while in office. Of course, the first time resulted not in a conviction. This comes after his supporters stormed the Capitol, shocking the nation. Right now, a number of Republicans are also changing their tune on the commander-in-chief, agreeing to support this move led by Democrats, but not including Vice President Mike Pence.
Well, Vice President Pence finally weighing in on the pressure from lawmakers to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove the president from office. In a letter sent to House Speaker Pelosi, Vice President Pence said he was saddened by the attack on the Capitol, but he does not believe invoking the 25th is in the nation's best interest.
And this morning, top Democrats have begun the process to impeach the president. Right now, Democrats have enough votes on their own to impeach the president in the House, but some Republicans are also planning to join them. Kylie in our newsroom right now with the very latest.
Good morning, Olivia. We know that House Democrats want the president to be held accountable for last week's deadly Capitol riot. But some Republicans believe impeaching the president will only lead to more division in the country. That's what they talked about this morning. We want to give you a live look right now at the House floor. You can see voting going on. Over the last hour and a half or so, we have heard from both Republican and Democratic House members. At times, it has been very fiery and passionate between some of the members. And later today, House Democrats again voting on a single article of impeachment charging President Trump with incitement of insurrection. This follows last week's deadly Capitol riot. If this passes, President Trump would be the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice. And like you mentioned, it's not just Democrats who are behind the impeachment. These 5 Republicans have publicly said that they will back the vote, and that includes Republican Liz Cheney. Democratic representatives this morning have brought her name up repeatedly.
I want to talk about unity. I can't think of anything that would unify this country more if there was a big bipartisan vote in favor of impeachment. Every second that this president remains in office is a danger to this country and to the world. We have no idea what he is capable of doing.
What then is the point of the rush to impeach? We are coming off a horrific event that resulted in 6 deaths. We have an opportunity to move forward, but we cannot if the majority insists on bringing the country through the trauma of another impeachment.
The House Majority Leader told Capitol Hill reporters this morning he expects as many as 20 Republicans could vote to impeach the president. He also says that Democrats plan to send the article of impeachment to the Senate as soon as possible after the House vote concludes. Obviously, a lot of developing parts here. We're going to continue to follow this story this morning. But before we go, we do want to get a pulse of the American public. A new CBS News poll shows that a majority of Americans think President Trump should be impeached. 55% of those polled are in favor of impeaching the president, while 45% oppose it. Scott?
Kylie, thank you for that. We want to get local perspective about the possibilities of a second impeachment. Former Republican State Representative Stan Barnes called last Wednesday President Trump's worst day in office. However, he believes the country needs to try and be united, reunited, and another impeachment would likely do just the opposite.
What would impeachment accomplish? That's the question. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just saying that I am for getting the country back together again. I'm not sure an impeachment would do that.
Democrat Lawrence Robinson, a constitutional attorney, wants to see the impeachment take place. He says the president needs to be held accountable for his actions.
Look, the president committed sedition. He incited a rebellious act, a violent act that put the folks who will be sitting in his impeachment at physical harm and risk, and officers protecting their safety. Some of their lives were even taken. So this is extremely, extremely important that they impeach here.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma.
So if the House were to vote in favor of the impeachment article, it would send the indictment to the Senate to trigger President Trump's trial, and President Trump could be the first president to be impeached twice. And if convicted, the president would lose the right to run for president a second time. And of course, we'll keep a close eye on all the developments out of Washington today and send any updates out to our AZ Family mobile news app.
I've done over 6,400 vaccinations here at this site. That's with the ramp up and our soft launch. But we've had over 87,000 people register for appointments.
As you heard, thousands of Arizonans receiving their first dose of hope in Phase 1B of the COVID vaccine rollout at the largest and first 24/7 COVID-19 vaccination site in our state. The pod outside State Farm Stadium fully booked through the 19th, but there are some available appointments through the end of the month. So now let's check in with Gina for the latest numbers coming out of the Arizona Department of Health Services.
Yeah, good morning, Olivia. Those numbers coming into our newsroom just a short while ago, and this is the time in the morning we like to do a deeper dive to really kind of give you a fuller picture of what we're looking at. There's a little bit of good news, a little bit of not so good news, but let's start you out with the raw numbers. New cases reported overnight, 5,629. New deaths reported overnight, 191. Keep in mind, we don't know exactly how many of those deaths actually occurred in the past 24 hours versus death certificate matching over the past few days and weeks. But a total number of cases now since the start of the pandemic, over 641,000. Total deaths, 10,671. Let's go ahead and get to that positive news. Always like to start with that. This is our positivity rate, and you can see that uptick and then hitting a high December 27th that week at 24%. But then last week ticked down, and then again today reporting again a slight downward trend at 21%. So we're going to keep a close eye on that number to be sure. Now, the not so positive news. This pie chart here represents all hospital beds across the entire state, whether they're occupied by COVID or non-COVID patients. Total hospital beds, they have shrunk, now only available 7%. ICU beds a little bit more with 9% that are available. Further breaking down that number, current hospitalizations right now these are just COVID patients, 6,213. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the ICU beds as well. Total number of COVID patients in the ICU right now, over 1,100. And then one more number just to further break down the statistics for you. This here shows how many patients in the ICU are either being treated for COVID or something altogether. 68% are COVID-19 patients, so almost 70% of everybody who's in an ICU bed across the state of Arizona is being treated for COVID-19.
Gina, thank you. Let's turn our attention to the forecast. Our drone out at Encanto Park looking at those blue skies and palm trees. But if you're headed out this morning, grab a jacket. It's definitely chilly starts to the days this week, but nice later, April. Looking forward to some time outside, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, this afternoon's going to be gorgeous. And then the next couple of days, even warmer weather, spring-like weather coming our way. This morning, it was pretty cold. We had Gilbert and spots in the Southeast Valley get down to almost the freezing mark. In fact, some spots like Ahwatukee did drop just below freezing. Had lows near about 30, 31 degrees. Partly cloudy skies, but just some thin high cirrus clouds. Let's check where those temperatures are right now. 36 currently in Gilbert and Queen Creek, 39 out of Mesa Gateway, 47 in AJ, and 48 in Fountain Hills. We're at 43 in Scottsdale. Chandler, you've pulled into the 40s, out of the 30s. Still about 35 though in Ahwatukee. We sure have had some cold mornings there this week. 48 in Carefree and 44 in Anthem and North Phoenix. 46 right now downtown. On the west side, we've got a mix of 30s and 40s. 41 in Tolleson, Avondale, and Goodyear. 37 right now in Surprise, and 39 in Sun City. A little bit of cloud cover across northern Arizona. Some of that spilling down into the valley, but as we saw when we looked outside there on that live view of Gilbert, they're just thin high cirrus clouds, no storm clouds. We're going to see overall mostly sunny skies and a high today right near normal, 68 degrees.
Good morning, Arizona. I'm Javier Soto. The greatest show on grass, yelling 4 right from the beginning due to the pandemic. If you thought the Waste Management Phoenix Open was going to be scaled back just into the newsroom, it's going to be scaled back even further. We're going to tell you about the latest information coming out right after the break.